Hi everyone. I'm Alex. I'm 27, single, and recently between jobs after quitting my role at a major tech company in Boston. Tall, fairly athletic, and I guess you could say decent looking if you ask around. During this downtime, I was spending more hours at home than I usually would. Our building's downstairs neighbors, Sarah and Mark, have been around for years. Good people, polite, quiet, and they've got a teenage son, Josh, who's in high school. One afternoon, Mark stopped me in the hallway and asked if I'd consider helping Josh study for some of his makeup exams. I figured why not, it'd pass the time, and I always liked teaching. But if I'm being honest, I wasn't doing it for Josh. I was doing it because of Sarah. Sarah is, wow, 34. Naturally pale skin, silky black hair, ocean blue eyes. She's that kind of woman who walks into a room and the temperature shifts. She has this timeless charm, always smiling warmly, always so aware of herself. I'd had a quiet thing for her ever since I moved in. Never said anything, of course. Her husband Mark looks like he eats nails for breakfast. Broad-shouldered, serious, intimidating type. Still, whenever Sarah would stop by to chat or borrow something, I'd find excuses to stay in the room longer than I needed to. Anyway, first day of tutoring. I head down, knock on their door. And when it opens, it's like time paused. Sarah was standing there in a deep blue cocktail dress, hair done up like she was going to an award show. Turns out, she was headed to a relative's wedding, but hadn't left yet. Well, she said, eyes gleaming. Look at you. All grown up now. I smiled, trying to keep it cool. You look even more beautiful than I remember, Sarah. She tilted her head, gave me a smirk, and kissed my cheek. Come in, sweetheart. Did she just call me sweetheart? Inside, Josh was already at the table, but Sarah sat down with us too, feet curled beneath her, sipping a drink like she had all the time in the world. Every now and then, I'd glance up from the math problem, and she'd be staring straight at me. You're really smart, she said out of nowhere, her voice softer than usual. I gave a nervous laugh. Thanks. Just then, my pen rolled off the table. I bent to grab it and accidentally bumped my forehead against her knee. Oh, she gasped with a chuckle. Sorry. I mumbled, completely red in the face. She didn't pull away, though. In fact, she stayed exactly where she was, as if waiting for another accident. Later, her husband came in, and she quickly grabbed her shawl and heels, then left for the wedding. After she left, I tried focusing on Josh's equations. But let's be real, I was thinking about her. The next day, I showed up again. This time, Sarah opened the door in a loose white t-shirt and tight gray yoga pants. Her hair was up in a messy bun, no makeup, but she looked even more alluring. Hey, I said, hesitating, if you're busy, we can reschedule. She let out a deep sigh, stretching her arms above her head, on purpose, I swear. No. I'm almost done cleaning. Come on in. I won't bother you guys, she said, her voice like velvet. We started the session again, but this time I could barely look at Josh. My eyes kept drifting. At one point, I stood up and said, I forgot a book upstairs, be right back. As I walked toward the door, Sarah was kneeling at the entrance, scrubbing the baseboards. Her book was right in front of me, and I wasn't proud of how I handled that moment. I brushed against her lightly by accident. She gasped, then slowly looked back at me with a smirk before saying nothing at all. I bolted upstairs. I came back a few minutes later. This time Josh answered the door. Hey Alex, he said, grabbing his keys. Can you wait inside? Mom asked me to grab sugar and tea from the store. Sure. I stepped in. Water was running. The bathroom door was closed. I sat down, heart racing. She must have been showering. Moments later, the bathroom door opened, and Sarah stepped out, wrapped in nothing but a small white towel that barely reached her mid-thigh. "Honey, when is Alex supposed to be?" She stopped cold when she saw me. "Oh my God," she gasped, holding the towel tighter. "I didn't know you were here already." She scurried into her bedroom, leaving a trail of wet footprints. When she came back fully dressed, she looked unreal. Tight jeans, a fitted black top, and that said vanilla and something floral. She sat down, crossed her legs slowly, and complimented me again. "You know, I hope my Josh turns out like you. Smart. Confident. Handsome." I grinned. "He will. He's got you as a mom." She paused for a second, then gave me a stare I couldn't quite read. Intense. Curious. Over the next week, we continued tutoring. Josh passed both of his exams with flying colors. The day I found out, I decided to go tell them in person, any excuse to see her again. She answered the door in a fitted white tee and some drawstring sweats. Her hair was damp, fresh from a shower. She smiled so wide when she saw me, then threw her arms around my neck. "Thank you." Josh passed both classes. I smiled. He earned it. "Come on in," she said. "Let me make you a coffee." We ended up in the kitchen, just the two of us. She reached up to grab a jar of coffee beans from the top shelf but exaggerated her struggle. "Ugh, stupid high cabinets. Can you help me, baby?" I walked over, stood behind her, and reached over. We were nearly touching. My chest was right behind her shoulders. She tilted her head slightly, looked at me from the corner of her eye. "If you're so helpful," she whispered, "maybe there's another way I can thank you." I froze. Did she just? Before I could say anything, she turned toward me. Our faces inches apart. "Do you want me?" she asked softly. I didn't answer. I just leaned in and kissed her. The kiss was slow at first, careful, testing the waters. But then it deepened. Became needful. Her arms wrapped around my neck. Mine held her close by the waist. When we finally came up for air, she said, "Why'd we wait this long?" "Maybe we needed the right moment," I whispered. That day we crossed every line we weren't supposed to. Again. And again. Later, we lay side by side on her couch. She told me about a guy she dated back in college. Said I reminded her of him, smart, gentle, a little rebellious. When I finally walked back up to my place, I could barely stand. Her son had gone to visit his grandfather for the summer. Her husband was buried in work. And for those few weeks, the woman downstairs belonged only to me. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more. Got thoughts? Drop them in the comments below. See you next time.